Sorry. So sorry, everyone. Just on the, we're live, aren't we? I'm sorry. You'd think I would have learned nothing from Brendan Fraser's you know, little viral goof. Anyway, folks, hey, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for taking a few minutes out of your time to come here today. And in fact, this might even be more than a few minutes because this is going to be a live stream discussion with some breaking news. Hey, Stephen, how you doing? So, for those of you who are not aware of how this works, I'm going to explain it so that for people who do not join in live, they know how this works in the future, and also it gives people a minute or two to come in so that they can join the conversation. Let me kind of tweak that just a little bit. So anyway, the way this works is we are going to spend roughly 10 to 20 minutes talking about the main topic. Even if the video is an hour long, it's not going to be spent an hour long talking about the topic. We are going to be talking about the topic. And then after I discuss the topic and share my 2 cents, then we will be taking some live questions, comments. I'd like to hear all of your thoughts on this. This has been a particularly contentious issue in the gig economy sector. And even though this channel has moved on primarily to other things, particularly how to make money and invest it and, all the other stuff, the Prop 22 situation is definitely something that is near and dear to my heart. I went to, protests. I spoke very strongly against it. And when this thing passed, this was basically the catalyst for me basically saying, no more. I'm kind of done with this. So the fact that it is now basically no more meant that I knew that I had to talk about it, and the wife is gone for the night, so that kind of happened. So I did debate whether or not I wanted to actually do this in the room so that you could see the article and everything rather than me just reading it, but I kind of like this intimate setting that we have with the phone and the living room and all that jazz, so I figured we would just continue with that. And by the way, if you stick around till the end, I'll be giving away a free 30-day trial to HBO Max. You can watch that new Kate Winslet series, or heck, you can stream The Suicide Squad if you want. Pretty fun. So anyway, I was playing, well, not Switch, that was a skit. I was actually playing Cyberpunk 2077, which finally hit $10. And I pre-ordered that a while ago for $60, returned it when I heard about the bugs. Now it's $10, I'm willing to take a chance on it. But I was playing that game, and I got some text from people saying, Kevin, did you hear? And I'm like, did I hear what? Prop 22 is no more, and I was shocked. So, of course, I went to Google right away, searched Prop 22, and sure enough, I found on Yahoo this article from TechCrunch. And I have like a little stand now. I'm actually kind of making the living room more of like a studio now. And it says, California's gig worker Prop 22 ruled unconstitutional by Superior Court. Again, this comes to us from TechCrunch. Danny Crichton wrote this, and it's apparently a 2-minute read. I don't like the fact that that's unstable, so I'm kind of moving it. There's a carpet here in case you can't see. So let's read this article, and let's see exactly what is going on. In a late Friday night blow to Uber, Lyft, and other gig worker-centered companies, a Superior Court judge ruled that California's Proposition 22, which was passed in 2020 and designed to overrule the state's controversial AB 5 law on the employment status of gig workers, violates the state's constitution. Frank Roche, a Superior Court judge in Alameda County, which encompasses Oakland, Berkeley, and much of the East Bay, ruled that the law would, quote, limit the power of a future legislator, unquote, to define the employment status of gig workers. The lawsuit was filed by the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, in January, after a similar lawsuit was rebuffed by the California Supreme Court and referred to a lower court. The court's decision will almost certainly be appealed, and further legal arguments are to be expected, which of course they're going to be expected. Of course it's going to be appealed. Do you honestly think Uber and Lyft are going to take this sitting down? I would throw in like Postmates in there, but Uber now owns Postmates. I guess DoorDash is still independent technically. The Superior Court's decision is just the latest in a long line of victories and defeats in the battle between companies that heavily rely on gig workers like Uber and DoorDash and unions and advocates representing workers. Much of the debate centers on the legal distinction between a freelancer and an employee, and to what extent companies are responsible for the care and benefits of their workers. I think you know my opinion. My opinion is if you're treating them like employees, if you basically rule everything they do, including their pay and stuff, then yes, I think you're very responsible for those people. Now, if you took a very hands-off approach, let them set their own prices, let them have their own cars, let the customers sue the drivers themselves rather than you stepping in to suspend them, then, I think that's a freelancer. So, such a distinction is big business. Uber, Lyft, and other companies spent more than $200 million collectively to push Prop 22 to victory last year. California voters passed the proposition roughly 59% to 41% in what was widely perceived as a major victory for gig worker platforms. Notice how it says platforms, not gig workers. Such fights are not limited to merely Silicon Valley's home state, however. Earlier this year in the United Kingdom, Uber lost a legal battle over its employment classification decisions and ultimately reclassified tens of thousands of its drivers as workers, a decision which offered them a range of benefits not previously guaranteed. And I want to add also that doing so, Uber is still profitable and they are still able to run their service. All they had to do was charge a little bit more for the rides, and guess what? People did not give up Uber over in the UK. Seems like that could work in America, but who knows? So anyway, that is the end of the article, and now let me set up my my thing over here so that I can actually read your comments. I can kind of technically read your comments here, but So anyway, this is pretty interesting. Now, I'm not going to exactly jump up and down for joy right now. I'm not going to say we've won, it's over, because here's the thing. I've been down this road before, and you have too. And one of the things that's kind of interesting about this whole worker classification thing is how it kind of flips all the time. And basically, it kind of just depends on the court and the judge. The courts and judges seem to have very different, very different opinions on whether or not what Uber and Lyft are doing is considered legal or not. A lot of people say that, well, they let me clock on and on wherever you want, therefore they're independent, they can't get fired for not working, things like that. Other people, like me, say that, well, but they control all these aspects, that's technically not an independent contractor. And the courts kind of flip. It kind of just depends on who the judge is at the time. So there will be more appeals on this. There will be more arguments heard. It might go up all the way to the Supreme Court. By the way, if it gets to the Supreme Court, I kind of expect them to side with Uber and Lyft. It's just, primarily conservative judges, and they're very business friendly. Conservatives, unfortunately, are not very employee friendly sometimes. I say this as someone who's a registered Republican. I know this. I know how they think. They probably will vote in Uber and Lyft's favor if it got to the Supreme Court. And of course, I could be surprised because conservatives also tend to be anti-vax. And Amy Barron Cohen, I think that's her name, the new judge, she heard the case of some Indiana college students who objected to a mandatory vaccine. And she heard their arguments and said they basically had no case to complain and dismissed it. So that could be a surprise, but I would suspect if this got to the Supreme Court, they would rule in Uber and Lyft's favor. In the meantime, Prop 22 is overturned. Now, from what this article was read, and I read like another article which had a little bit more detail about this. Apparently, the sticking point that the court took wasn't necessarily what the proposition said for today. Like, that wasn't the sticking point. The sticking point was that basically the law preemptively blocked future laws and future adjustments to the law, which that's what the courts took issue with in this particular case. Like, hey, you know what? You can write a bill and says this is now law. Like, you put it on the ballot, you put it out for the people to vote, and they say, people, do you want A to happen? Yes. Or do you want B to happen? No. In this case, most people voted A for yes. They wanted Prop 22 to be a thing. And so it was a thing. And had it just ended there, we might not be reading this story. Unfortunately, for Uber and Lyft, but probably fortunately for many of my viewers, not all, I know some of my viewers actually wanted Prop 22 to succeed. Here's the thing. They've decided that because Prop 22 barred further discussion of this particular issue and made it so that future laws couldn't be addressed and they couldn't be altered and they couldn't be passed and they couldn't be voted on, that is what the courts took issue with. That's what they took issue with. So they deemed that aspect of Prop 22 unconstitutional. Now, what could ultimately happen if, let's say, it gets all the way to the Supreme Court, and let's just say the Supreme Court surprises us and they say, yeah, Prop 22 is unconstitutional, we're getting rid of it. What happens then? Well, obviously, California would go back under the AB 5 laws. That would pretty much happen immediately. And, I accidentally hit that. And then a new bill that would probably read very, very similar to Prop 22, except for the fact that it would not put the barring of you can never address this topic again. That part would be taken out. But otherwise, it would read very, very similarly to the current one that has just been overturned. So, that's what's, it's, oh my gosh, the stupid spell check. It's unconstitutional, sorry. Yeah, so I will be fixing that when this comes to an end. Thank you, Abstract Echo, for pointing that out. So I'm not exactly going to pop champagne, but you know what? I am going to cheat a little bit. I am going to have a Pepsi Mango. New flavor from Pepsi. Love this thing. Obviously can't drink it very often. I drink maybe one a week. It's like a treat. And even though I had one earlier, I'm going to pop an extra one because I do think this is good news overall. I'm always glad to see Uber getting pushed back on and being sued and all that jazz. So I still miss Pepsi Twist, though. Does anyone else remember Pepsi Twist? I remember Pepsi Twist. Last time I had it, I was in the Czech Republic because it's still over there. But anyway. That's good. So, anyway. So that is where we are going to end our... Well, that's the end of my discussion on the Prop 22 news. I would like to know what you think about it, and we are going to be reading those opinions, and I'm going to be responding to them, and I'd like to know what else is on your mind. It is now time for us to have a little bit of a fireside chat. We're even in front of the fireplace for that. So, first of all, if all of you like this video so far, please give it a thumbs up. Really helps it a lot, and do not hesitate to ask me some questions because we are going to be going for it. Now, let's see here. There's this new thing called pin message. What does the pin message thing do? I guess it just pins the message there. So that doesn't really, I don't know why that would be a thing. So anyway, why is it not let me refresh this so that I can start answering questions? Oh, thank you for the thumbs up, folks. I appreciate that. So Stephen K says hello, and hello, Stephen. Uber said, "What's up, Kevin?" Well, Prop 22 is what's up. That's one. Now, Michael Fortner has a few comments here, so we're going to read them one at a time. The first thing he says is, I think Uber should have an option in the app to let the rider say they are wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. As most of my riders don't wear a mask, and if they want to wear a mask, it should notify the driver to wear a mask if the rider wants to wear a mask. Well, that would be pointless, and I'm going to tell you why. And I don't know if you're aware of this, so this might be educational for you. The reason that is not an option, and the reason it won't be an option, is because Uber's current policy across the states, except maybe Florida, because I think in Florida and maybe Texas they can't do this, but their policy is you are to wear a mask, both drivers and riders. Whether you are fully vaccinated or not, you are to wear a mask. Now, I think it would be nice if Uber had an option where you could verify that you are vaccinated, and if that notification was next to the driver and he pulled up to a rider and saw they weren't wearing a mask, then there would be no confusion. But everyone is supposed to wear a mask. Now, what happens if you, as the driver, and by the way, if you are a driver who doesn't care if people wear a mask, this is obviously not for you. But if you are a driver who cares about that thing and you drive up to someone and you see that they are not wearing a mask, you are absolutely allowed to cancel that ride with no penalization. In fact, I believe there is even an option there where Uber asks, why are you canceling this ride? And passenger is not wearing a mask is one of those things that you can select because it's just that much of an issue. And same thing with the rider. The rider can contact the driver. Now, if the rider does not care about this mask situation and the driver shows up and is not wearing a mask, okay, they probably won't care. But if the rider does care about the mask situation and the driver comes up and they're not wearing a mask, they can cancel the ride and report that driver to Uber. And for the record, if you are an Uber driver who does not care about wearing the mask, but you care about keeping your job at Uber, you might want to wear the mask anyway, because if you get enough of these complaints, you will be deactivated. So that is why that is not a thing. Okay. Michael also said, and by the way, other people, feel free to leave your comments, otherwise this will be like a short live stream. Said, what's your opinion on the mask requirements Uber and Lyft are trying to enforce, and what do you think of what I'm suggesting? Well, I guess I just gave you my opinion on what they're suggesting. Like, makes sense to me. My opinion has been very, very consistent, to the point where it's gotten me into a lot of trouble. I believe you should wear masks. If you're vaccinated, here's the thing. If both people are vaccinated, then that's one thing. But even if you're vaccinated, unfortunately, with the Delta variant, there can be breakthrough infections. That's why they're working on the boosters. Now, the good news is if you're vaccinated, you are unlikely to die, although at least one person has died from a breakthrough infection. So it's not 100%, but it's closer to 85 to 90% that you will survive if you're vaccinated. So I am okay with Uber and Lyft requiring mask mandates. And I've been very open about that. Some people don't agree. I guess that's fine. I think it's foolish, but that's how some people feel. Now, the funny thing is, I do believe masks work, and the reason I believe they work is because masks have actually been a thing for a lot of countries long before this pandemic. In fact, there's a funny story. I've been sharing this with people. Me and my wife are watching Inuyasha. I don't know how many of you know Inuyasha. It's actually a fairly old anime now. I watched it when I was a teenager, and now I'm watching it again as an adult with my wife. And boy, it's weird to go back to animes that you remember watching on Cartoon Network as a kid, and now you're an adult. And there's an episode where Kagome, the female protagonist, is sick, and she realizes she needs to study for a test, so she needs help studying. So she gets her friends together, and they're in a room, and she's wearing a mask. And Katie asked, was this made during COVID? Because she's wearing a mask. And I'm like, no, they wear masks when they're sick. They don't have a flu season like we do. And by the way, the flu season here has gotten way lower since we started wearing masks, so obviously they do something. And I told her, like, this is not some random thing that the doctors in America pulled out of their butts. This is a tried and tested thing. It works, especially when everyone does it. The reason I don't know why it's political here, to be honest. It's a piece of cloth. I think there's much bigger hills to die on myself. But I think the reason it's not as effective here is because people just don't, there's no unified view upon this. Some people literally think wearing a mask is the mark of the devil. And I wish I were kidding about that. But on the other hand, some people, this is a fun story, when they first started putting barcodes on merchandise like your cereal and stuff, there was a large group of people, primarily evangelical Christians, who looked at that and felt that that was the mark of the beast. I kid you not, look it up. It's a real thing. So I think people overreact to very simple things. I mean, finding out that General Motors, I think it was General Motors, one of the car companies faked the smog, cheated the smog test and were putting more pollution out than you thought they were. Yeah, that's something that you can get really mad about. But a piece of cloth, I don't know. So anyway, so let's see here. Michael continues. Right, I get that. All I'm saying is I've been an under driver since 2015 with over 8K trips and a 4.91 rating, and most of my riders don't care about the masks. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who don't care about the masks. They don't. And you as a driver, it was Volkswagen. Thank you, rideshare source driver. So the statement stands. You are allowed to not pick up those passengers if they are not wearing a mask, and you can't be penalized for that. So whether or not you want to do that, that is completely up to you. If you are that concerned about it, I would recommend not picking them up. And here's another reason why you might not want to pick them up, because this has actually become like a very interesting litmus test for customer behavior. And some people might strongly disagree with me on this one, so I want to hear your opinion if you disagree with me. However, I believe that because Uber makes it very clear on the app, you have to go through several steps, and they make it clear a couple times, you must wear a mask in the Uber. If you pull up to a passenger and they're not wearing a mask, not only would I cancel it for safety reasons, but I would cancel it because if they're not going to follow that simple request, they might give you trouble on a lot of other things. People who reject the masks vehemently tend to have big sucky attitudes, big holier than thou attitude. Like, what next? Are they going to say, I'm not going to wear the seatbelt? I have picked up people where I'm like, please buckle up. And they're like, don't worry about it. Just drive. I don't need a seatbelt. And it's like, no, sir, I need you to wear your seatbelt. I am not driving anywhere until you buckle up. And I think right now for Uber drivers, this is like the easiest way you can find out if you're going to have a stubborn, selfish passenger. If you drive up to them and they're not wearing the mask, you know what? They're vain enough that they're not going to follow this simple rule, which has been around for a year now, so it's not a surprise. Cancel the ride. You can't get penalized for it. They're going to give you nothing but a headache. Just move on. So that's my opinion on that one. Did you see the video of Dr. Fauci saying masks don't work? Yes, I have. That video did a lot of damage, and Fauci has come back and basically said he lied. Like, he lied because he didn't want people to buy up all the N95 masks. It is true the N95 masks are more effective than the cloth masks, but here's something else to kind of keep in mind. If masks really were not effective, why were doctors wearing them for all these years? You think they were doing that for show? Something to think about. Anyway, Kago P says, people don't wear it because no stats show the masks work. Well, actually, there are plenty of stats out there that shows they work, but, anyway. Rideshare source driver, I've been driving for over 5 years, and it's a dump job. Well, my question then, rideshare source driver, if you don't mind me asking, I mean, I know you have a YouTube channel, but so maybe you feel like you need to do this to continue your YouTube channel. But if it's a dump job, why are you still doing it 5 years later? Like, that's that's what I would like to know. If it's a dump job, why continue? Like, why do you think my channel has changed so much? I don't do it anymore. I mean, I'm finding much better success in other areas. I'm trying to share it with my viewers, of course. I don't know if they want to hear that. They want to hear me say that Uber can get better. I'm sorry, it's just not going to get better. Uber will not change for the better. And so I think people should get out of it myself. But, so Michael says, I personally don't care about the masks and try to avoid it. So, okay. Well, if you don't care, then you don't care. But, that was my opinion. Rideshare source driver says, I think someone in Chicago was beaten brutally by a rider because of a mask argument. And yeah, that is a shame. But you know what? That's also no excuse. I mean, I think Uber drivers will be beat up over anything, personally. There are people who beat up the Uber drivers because of one thing, or another. Like, there was that one guy who was drunk and he wanted to beat me up because his iPhone Google Maps said that we would arrive at his location in 15 minutes. My map, which was also using Google Maps, I want to say, well, actually, maybe it was Waze. So I don't know if Waze owned Google owned Waze then. But my map said we would get there in 18 minutes. Now, he was drunk, so he probably wasn't really thinking this through. And I made a video about it. It's one of my most viewed videos. It's called like an Uber driver attacked me tonight. I'll never forget this guy. Because mine said, I quoted him like 3 stinking minutes longer than what his said. He got out, he leaned forward, he grabbed my phone, he started taking pictures, he was threatening to beat me up and, had to get the police involved, and it was like very, very ugly. So, I am not at all surprised that passengers will beat up the drivers because of the mask mandate. And you know what? Those people should go to jail. There is no reason for that. Here's my opinion. You feel like you don't want to wear a mask? Guess what? If the driver says wear a mask and you say no, you're the one getting out of the car. It's not your car. It's not your business. They don't have to do that for you. And also, if the mask is that important, make sure they are wearing that before you let them in the car. Now, it is true that sometimes they'll get in the car and then they will take it off. So, there are people who are very, very dedicated at not following this rule. And it's kind of like, it kind of reminds me when I was younger and I would think of all these schemes to not do my homework until I realized one day, like a light bulb click, like I'm spending more time trying to avoid doing the homework. And if I just did the homework, it would take a lot less time and a lot less effort. And it would be a lot better for everyone. So, that's just kind of me. So, let's see here. Real Rideshare Source Star says, if a mask has a vent, what's the point? Well, that's why they recommend the cotton ones. But the N95s, I mean, the vent has a filter. So that's what it's for. I mean, admitting that's why they do it. Like, I mean, it allows you to breathe, but it filters out particles and stuff like that. So that's, that, I don't know. Oh, can you hear that? There's like a loud person driving out there. So anyway, so he says, I meant dumb job. I do it less and less because it's pointless. Yeah, no, I haven't done it in a long time. By the way, for any new viewers, if you haven't given the video a thumbs up yet, please do. Would really appreciate that. And don't hesitate to ask your question. So, all right. So Michael says, do you and Randy, aka Uberman, still stay in contact? I've been following y'all since the very beginning of y'all's channel. Yes, we still do keep in contact. I mean, we are clearly doing different things now. But he was actually on my channel not too long ago, and I was on his not too long ago. And there are some things that we might be doing together. Now, granted, he does the car thing now. I am not a big car person. I mean, for the longest time I was driving a Corolla, and now me and my wife are sharing her Ford Fiesta, and I will buy a Prius when this car bubble pops. I was thinking of like getting a Prius a month ago, and then I saw the sky high prices and was kind of like, nope, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. So, we were also driving in Beverly Hills a few months ago, and they have like new fancy cars and they have classic cars. I did find out he does not care about classic cars. He cares about the new ones. He cares about the fast ones, the ones with the most horsepower. That's what he cares about. Now, I do think it would be funny, or not funny, but fun, I should say, if me and him got together and we discussed like what our favorite credit cards were, and how did we allocate funds, because I do eBay, he does cars, and we get paid money to do that. And it would be interesting to find out, like, okay, when you get paid, what's the first thing you do with the money, and how do you run that business? He actually just recently paid off, I think, his house and his debt, and that's a great feeling. And I sent him a text. This was like a day or two ago, and it was like, hey, congratulations on paying off all that debt. That's wonderful. And he said, thanks, man, feels good. So, and actually what's also funny is, I don't know why, but the YouTube algorithm pulled up the old video when he shared the screenshot of the story I broke, that Uber had taken 81% of the fare. He he did a video about that, and that was the video where he said, I think he just got to quit, and that was when he started moving away from Uber. And I probably should have moved away from Uber too at that point. But yeah, the algorithm showed that video again, and it was like, oh my gosh, is this video like 3 years, it's 3 years old now? Like, it's like, oh my, maybe it was 2 years old, I don't know, but I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this video is not only that old, but it hasn't changed at all. The situation is just as bad as it was back then. So yeah, we do keep in contact with one another. So, he's a good guy. We disagree on a few things, obviously, but that's fine. Friends do disagree on things from time to time. No, nothing, no shame in that. Let me go back in. I don't know if this is actually, there you go. So, all right, do we have any more comments, any more questions? Anyone else want to send me a like before this all goes away? Like, we've only done 33 minutes. I could easily do another 30, but if there's no more questions, so let's see here. Rideshare Source Driver says, and now it's not. Oh, there it is. Tesla, Ram 1, Ram 2, Jeep, Corvette, 2 motorcycles, Camaro, Mustang, Charger, and more in just a few years. Randy used YouTube revenue for. Oh yeah, no. He's done very well with his YouTube revenue. He's also got like over 250,000 subscribers. Like, I mean, I probably should have been aware that the car industry was that big. I didn't though. But I'm glad that he was able to pivot though, because so many Uber tubers have not been able to pivot. And I don't say this mean. I mean, like, this is difficult. I'm still technically pivoting. I'm doing new stuff, and it seems like it's starting to pay off, but it might be another year or two before things are back to the way they were. But I mean, look at some of the other Uber tubers, like my buddy Mark. He tried to become Mark's Travel Time, and he basically had to go back to calling himself Uber Hints, and because the channel just started to fail. So that is, I felt bad that happened. And then you see my frenemy, Geo. He changed his channel to American Gigolo. The problem is it's not spelled very different from a Richard Gere movie, so when you search American Gigolo, you don't find it. You find him by searching Rideshare Revolution, but he's not the Rideshare Revolution anymore. So it's tough. And, you know, his subscribers have stagnated. My subscribers have stagnated. Dustin, another friend of mine, Dustin, he does that Dustin is Gaming channel. Gaming channels are huge, but it's just not an easy thing to pivot from. So the only person who so far seems to have been able to break out of the rideshare mold, and I hate the fact that he's the one that I have to say this, because he's a total scammer, is Dylan, aka the Rideshare Hub. He turned into the Finance Hub and started pressing the conspiracy theories that Donald Trump won the election and all that jazz. He figured out that was a really big topic on YouTube. Worse, he's actually collecting money and saying, like, I'm going to use this money to help fight the fight. Like, and he's not fighting the fight, guys. He's not taking that money and putting it towards fighting Trump's legal team or whatever the heck it is. He's keeping the money for himself. So, and Dylan, by the way, is a Democrat. He's a registered Democrat. So, you know, he doesn't believe this shit. To be frank, he doesn't believe this shit at all. He just knows it's a popular topic. So and that's what he does. He creates YouTube channels where he finds popular trending topics and he runs it into the ground. And then when it's no longer profitable, he moves on from that channel and focuses on the other one. So Dylan's a hustler. And there's a reason none of us like him. But technically speaking, he did pivot. He probably pivoted because he never got into this to have integrity. He never got into this to do the YouTube game. He got into this. He learned about the algorithms. He figured out how to trick the algorithms. He also, by the way, copied all of our content. My content, Dustin's content. Heck, there was a situation where Jay made a video for the Rideshare Guys YouTube channel, and Dylan literally copied the title, he copied the thumbnail, and he did that like a few times with different people. Because one of the things that Dylan did, and I don't even know if other UberTubers, you know, realized it, but he figured out what videos we were making that were getting views, and then he made 10 to 15 of that very same topic. And he did it so that when people would search those topics, one of his videos would be the one on top, and our videos got buried. That's one of the reasons that that our channels died. And by the way, I know you're kind of like saying, "Oh, that's a conspiracy theory." Yeah, it probably is. I think it also goes to show that the UberTuber community was never as big as we wanted to think it was. It was big for like a few years, but the biggest years that I was doing this was when I was doing all the anti-Uber news, and anti-Uber news were just super, super big. So anyway, he's probably the only one that was really able to break out with some real success. Everyone else, except for Randy, got stuck. Got absolutely stuck. So, but I'm still here, and I'm still working on my channel. Like, whether it ever becomes what it was in the past or not, you know what? I actually got to live the YouTube dream for a few years. I can't complain too much. I do miss it. I do miss it. I miss having, not that I don't appreciate the 20 people watching now. So glad you're watching. Very much appreciate it. There is a kind of a point though where I do miss like the 100 people who would used to be watching, and you know, so maybe those days will never come back. Who knows? But all right, so let's see here. Rideshare Society. So many UberTubers cannot do anything else but driving, but Randy can repair. And that's kind of going to be the thing if we want to pivot. That's why I started realizing, you know, I got to start sharing my passions. And by the way, one of the things that I also did do, and this has thankfully been successful so far, I did decide to start updating my Apptrepreneur media channel a lot more with more news on streaming and Criterion. And that channel is growing. So there might be a future where that channel becomes this big thing and this is more or less forgotten. We're not there yet, but it might happen. So if you guys want to support me and you want to see some of the other stuff I'm doing, just search Apptrepreneur Media and hit that subscribe button and help me get to 1,000 subs so that I can get monetized on that channel. Anyway, Michael says, yeah, Randy's channel grew so fast when he changed his channel's name. Well, it was really the topic. It wasn't the name, but it was the topic. Actually, change your channel name is usually like a death sentence, but he made it work. Dang, that's good. That's really good. All right, so Mohammed said, Woodward Dream Cruise this weekend in Metro Detroit. Okay. I don't know what that means, but okay. So, I thought it was Geo Gogolo at first. No, it was American Gigolo. CEO driver, her. Dylan has underage girls posts with swimsuits. 2 phones video by Dylan. Oh yeah, that was the other thing about Dylan. Like this is when I think people should have realized he was like a scam artist. The rideshare professor years ago did a video that became very famous called the 2-phone Uber trick, and he basically showed how you could get like the best rates if you use 2 phones. Now, it was a very effective trick, and there's a reason that video blew up. But because that video blew up, guess who saw it? Uber saw it, and they changed it. So the 2-phone trick no longer worked. But 4 years later, Dylan, aka Real Driver, made a video about the 2-phone trick, which not only was a complete carbon copy of what the rideshare professor did, it didn't even work anymore. The trick didn't work anymore. Uber had long solved that problem. But there you go, right? So, yeah, that's why that kid's a little bit of a scam artist. Like, he was... Am I going to go so far as to say he never drove for Uber? No, he probably did. It's not difficult to drive for Uber. But, and I'm not someone who thinks that this is something that you need to do, but I definitely understand why people complained about him not showing his ride count. I don't believe you have to show your ride count to prove that you are an effective Uber driver. But he went so out of his way to cover it up. It did become a point like, what are you hiding? Like, what are you hiding? So I do question how much he actually did. I don't think he drove much. All right. Hey, welcome, Real Rideshare Stories. Oh, snap, Prop 22 in hot water. Yeah. Yep, they're in hot water. Rideshare Stories says, Dylan once was playing song for $1 on live stream. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry to say. I mean, did he like say that he would play a song if you would send him $1? Yeah, that's technically illegal because unless he owns the song, he doesn't have the right to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, nobody cares, but technically it's illegal. Muhammad says, Cruise is old, cars, hot rods. Well, Cruz is old, but he doesn't look like he's very old. And Lisa is in the house. Welcome, Lisa. You want to chime in on anything before we... Okay, Michael says, I still use the 2-phone trick. I can see where it's surging while on a current ride. The Uber app lets you log on to 2 devices, but only go online on 1 device. Well, yeah, that's a kind of different than what the rideshare professor's 2-phone trick was, but it's good that you can still do some sort of trick. I actually even forgot what the actual trick was. It's been so long since I watched that video or even thought about it. But yeah. So let's see here. Muhammad says, not Tom Cruise. The Cruise is driving along M1 corridor. Like, what's the Cruise? I don't know what the cruise is. So Real Rider Story says, Dylan drove maybe 10 rides, if that. He squeezed referrals as much as he could. Oh yeah, no, his whole thing was about referrals. On that note, if you want free stocks, Robinhood and Webull links below. Sorry, couldn't resist. But yeah, no, his channel was all about, like, I even remember he made a video when the pandemic started and like Uber was basically shut down, and he said, "There's no money made in Uber right now. This sucks for drivers, but you know what? Sign up for my referral link. You'll make." It's like, my goodness, you couldn't be more transparent about what your channel was about, if 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 you tried to be. I mean, that was just like, yeah, the kid. I'm now kind of curious. I'm gonna have to look this up. Is the Rideshare Hub even an active channel anymore? I I I haven't been subscribed to him for a very, very long time. So let me see, videos. Nope, it's a dead channel. His last his last video was 9 months ago, and it's called a. Oops, sorry. Sorry about that. Let me see what a new beginning. That's what it's called. Let's see. What did he have to say?
Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the Rideshare Hub. My name's Dylan. Thanks for coming by. So I wanted to hop on here and make this quick announcement that I am going to start basically posting less on this channel, the Rideshare Hub, and focus my efforts on the Finance Hub. This is my second new YouTube channel that I'm super excited about, and I wanted to invite you to join me over there on the Finance Hub. I'm going to leave a link down below, or just go into YouTube and type in the Finance Hub. I'm going to be sharing.
Okay, I don't need to spend 3 minutes to figure out what this is about. Basically, I'm abandoning this channel. And so fun fact, guys, he didn't even actually put the link into for his new channel. It's still just anyway, Finance Hub. Is that still a channel? The rise and, oh my gosh, Rideshare Professor made a rise and fall of this guy. Oh my gosh, I have to watch some of these videos later on. This is amazing. So how the Finance Hub is stealing from Trump supporters. The Finance Hub is looking at felony charges. Breaking: the Finance Hub's channel taken down from YouTube. That's that might explain why I can't find it. Now let's go to Geo's channel for a minute. He has not been around for a while. Can't believe I'm saying this, but I kind of miss the guy, and I'm actually a little worried about him. I should probably reach out to see if something. Wait. Yes, I'm wondering what's going on, but I think I recall someone on here had a bunch of Dylan's new channels. I saw it in the comments. Well, let me look at this other one real quick. Then I'll get back to you guys. I kind of feel like I'm ignoring you guys, but I'm kind of curious, like, what happened. I doubt Dylan would give up the hustle. Let's see here. But I remember someone on one of his channels posted. So, okay, I can't find it, but yeah, like, screw Dylan. That guy was a jerk. Anyway, sorry guys, I didn't mean to ignore you. Lisa says, I can't wait to see what happens with Prop 22. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing what happens with Prop 22 as well. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's see here. Michael says, oh, yes, you're correct, rideshare source driver. Oh, yeah, how many times did he quit? So for those who don't know what that comment means, like Dylan made like probably at least 200, I'm not even kidding, videos where like why I quit Uber. Like one of his favorite topics was top 10 reasons, like reasons why you should quit your real job and work for Uber. And then he would then make the reasons you should not quit your job to drive for Uber. And you know, he played both ends. I am, if nothing else, consistent. So Lisa says, Rideshare Professor's trick was on one phone you could see the location of the other drivers. That's what it was. Yeah. I guess you can technically still do that. Doesn't really help you much right now, but you know, it kind of made sense at the time when there was like a lot fewer drivers. Then you could kind of go to where there was less drivers, and thus there's probably going to be surge. Now there's drivers all over the place, so I don't even know why you would do that, to be honest. Although apparently Michael does. I use that trick too sometimes to see where all the other drivers are in the area to move away to get more trip requests. Let's see here. Rideshare source driver says he used to have models to pose with his Mercy. Oh yeah, his car. Yeah, like unfortunately I can't believe girls that looked that hot would probably date him, but it was probably not a relationship based on deep conversations, if you know what I mean. So, real rideshare. So he says, I think the one channel was deleted. Rideshare, he said he paid them. Professor was rideshare promoter. Geo rents, I think, at least a few Turo SUVs. Well, I mean, Randy rents cars on Turo. I don't have any vehicles to rent on Turo. I probably could buy vehicles and rent them on Turo, but I'd honestly be a little afraid to. Because, you know, Randy has just shared so many of the horror stories, like some of the conditions that the cars have come back in, like, my goodness. My goodness. It's amazing how some of these stories he shared, I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't. I don't think I can do that. Any other questions, guys? We have like 7 minutes left. 7 minutes left. Any final questions or comments? I meant Dylan has mode to show off his merch. Mode to show off his merch. Yeah, he has merchandise. I should probably make merchandise. I mean, I have my own logo. I could make Apptrepreneur Show mugs. I don't know, would anyone buy an Apptrepreneur Show mug? Like, would that be a worthwhile investment? Could be. I don't know. Let me know if you would buy a mug with one of my logos on it. That would be interesting if that ended up being a thing. So, anyway, since we're getting near the end of this, I mean, if anyone has any final questions, feel free. But I'm going to put something in here that you guys might find interesting, and I promised I would do this early on, but oops, I don't know why that happened, but so anyway, I am going to put in a code in the chat, and the code in the chat is, if you take this to hbomax.com/redeem, use this code, you will get 30 days of HBO Max for free. I do not get a commission. It's just something that came with a game that I bought today, and I already have HBO Max, and it's paid off for a whole year, so there's no reason for me to use it, then maybe some of you guys would want it. I don't know. Motor City Comic Con on October 15th, 17th. Yeah, I probably won't go to that, but Michael says, I really wish the multiplier was still around. I made so much more money versus the dollar surge. Oh, yeah. Once they went to dollar surge, that was basically when I started pulling away. Like, that's when I think my area was one of the last areas to adopt the dollar surge. But once they did, that was it. Like, there was no more reason to do this anymore, as far as I was concerned. So, yeah, but again, Uber does not care. They just, they don't. Like, the longer you're on the platform, the more you're about to complain about things. So they really don't care if they're just always getting new drivers. All right, so I think we have depleted our questions. I can't think of any more way to stretch this out for 4 more minutes. I guess once in a while it's nice to have like a video that's less than an hour. But anyway, thank you for joining me. So we're going to have to see what happens with this Prop 22 thing. And I'd like to know what you think about it. You can comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.